Welcome back to the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show with Wisk and Kev on the Wild Style Network, fueled by Monster Energy.
Oh, wait a minute. We got a new sponsor.
And we do. Yes, we do have another new sponsor. It is rvrepairbear.com.
Yes.
Thank you for your support. Mm-hmm. And joining us in the studio right now are the Glowing Embers. We have Daniel.
The only album quality tribute to
Age of Ruin. Mm-hmm. So, welcome, guys. We got Daniel, Christopher, Ben, and Jonathan.
Right.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
But well, we were going to kick right in. We're going to talk about Ben, because Ben, we had been here together. You've been on the couch before.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. It was a great moment.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, the Glowing Embers. We try really hard to go note for note. You know, meet that album quality Age of Ruin that everyone expects. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So
that's high pressure.
Right.
Very high pressure.
It is.
Yeah.
But you know, enough practice, enough rehearsal. I think we got the sound just dialed in just right, huh?
I think so.
So yeah, but yeah, you know, all kidding aside, Ben was our vocalist. You know, he was the second vocalist for this band, Age of Ruin, mm-hmm. when we're not in our pseudonym, and that was back in 2003, probably 2003 to 2008 or so. Mm-hmm. And about 6 months ago, we parted ways with our last vocalist on mutual. It was fine, you know, we're still friends. Mm-hmm. But just, we wanted to do more. We wanted to do more shows. We were writing a lot more material, and he has 2 young children, and so it was, you know, just an impossibility. Mm-hmm. So we were in a situation where we're like, okay, we want to keep going. We want to keep pushing this band even further. And we started auditioning people.
Sure.
And we were getting to be at a point where we were looking further and further and further out, you know what I mean? And at one point, Hendrik reached out to a friend of his that we thought was in Fairfax, and turns out he had moved to Delaware. And we were like, okay, well, maybe we can make that work. And all of a sudden it clicked in our heads, Ben lives in Delaware. And it was like, well, if we're going to do that, why not see if Ben's into it? And yeah, we've been playing together now for 3 or 4 months, you know, working really hard at getting the old songs up to speed, and writing some new material, which we're really, really stoked about. I mean, we've got 5 or 6 new songs that are even more melodic than before. A lot of singing that Ben's brought to the table. Cool. That's really outstanding, and we're probably going to hit the studio, I would say, sometime this summer to get that new material out.
Very cool. Yeah. So let me ask then. So you just spanned a lot of years, 2003 to up to now. Were there things in the catalog that say you weren't playing? Like when I first saw you guys a year ago, that was my first Age of Ruin exposure. So were there songs in that catalog that you weren't, I guess, playing then at that point that you've gone back to?
Absolutely. In fact, a lot of that has to do with Ben's voice.
Okay.
He's got an outstanding, you know, clean, melodic voice that brought, I think a lot of people missed that about Age of Ruin.
Oh, okay.
And so we've been able to pull songs from the catalog that Ben wrote, and we're playing a couple of those tonight.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. So Ben, I gotta comment on the shirt, because I'm just an enormous Scorpions fan.
Oh,
so
me too, man.
All right.
Huge fan.
Yeah.
Huge fan.
Yeah. Nice. So I was wondering, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those things, you know. I got it from my mother. You know, she sang this to me as a child. You know, this kind of stuff. So I naturally love it. You know.
Your mom has great taste.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about the experience now coming back into the band after a little.
Well,
bit of time apart.
Daniel had said, you know, it was 2008 when you know I'd kind of stepped away, and it's been some time. So you know, coming back to it, you know, it's easy to see everybody's talent has just you know, matured, grown, and it's just coming back to it, finding that you know, it's kind of like riding a bike, man. You know, it was kind of like just fitting right back into things, and you know, it's kind of like we never skipped a beat in a sense. Yeah. So I'm really enjoying it. You know, the direction things are going, and I'm looking forward to the future.
It really felt, you know, the first time we got together and jammed after, and I'll actually use the word jam, you know, not practice, rehearsal. We really just got together to see how's it going to fit.
Yeah.
And it just, boom, like locked in immediately. And another thing, speaking of like the talent maturing, you know, having grown and being our age and everything, the maturity there, you know, is super helpful, because everyone's more patient with each other and really listening for feedback and creative ideas so that everybody's contributing. It's a value that really matters to us now.
Sure.
And I really appreciate it, and we're really proud of what we're doing.
So Ben, I go back to the story with Daniel. Like, you're bringing up that, like, I always get a feel good vibe from you guys, and it was like, I would say that the band that I was playing was more of an alt rock, like kind of 90s band that was, was playing in front of Age of Ruin, and typically, like, it's an intimidating experience to go in front of a band like Age of Ruin because get the poser label or whatever potentially, kind of out of that. But you guys are the most gracious folk, man. So I go back to that. So it sounds like Ben's just a part of that tradition.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. And, to your point, we went up and got some lunch today in town and got some tacos. Didn't realize it was Cinco de Mayo until we walked in the door and there was no tables.
And everybody was getting tacos?
Yeah, we're like, why is there so many people? Oh. So, but walking back, we stopped in the candle shop and Gavin was working, and it's just great to be able to appreciate other musicians and local talent and really just high five each other and be like, yo, it's awesome what you guys are doing. Even if it's not the same genre, that doesn't matter to us. It's about sharing what we do and also helping them, other talent, find a venue, a place to do it.
Sure. And that's something we've talked about quite a bit on all these episodes, particularly from the Manassas flavor of things. And you've been doing a great job with the Friday Night Spotlight. So talk a little bit about how that's come together, because that's been pretty diverse range of showcases over the last couple of months.
Sure. And a lot of the talent is coming to us. So it would sound easy, except that we got to give everyone an opportunity. You know what I mean? We don't want to always have the same 5 bands or whatever. So the part of the challenge is sort of figuring out the schedules and how can we get, someone on a show. And sometimes you reach out and say, hey, can you guys play this date? And they can't.
Right.
It's like, dang, we got you next time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And another thing that's really cool is that the members of this band are all helping with it. We're all helping, but we're just seeing a lot of people from the community coming together.
Sure.
So other bands saying, other artists, hey, how can I help? I've got this gear I could share, or I can help. It's just people really want to be participating in an experience like that, which I think is really interesting post-pandemic.
Sure.
The pandemic really had a huge, drastic, bad impact on this level of local musicians, artists, bands that before the pandemic had a lot of venues that they could play at. A lot of those places disappeared. They weren't able to make it through the financial crisis of the pandemic. And so it's really limited what a lot of musicians can do. You see a lot of house shows, a lot of basement garage shows that are popping up, and that's really cool because we used to play those and talk about a fun time, man. But I think they're going really well. Where the turnouts are getting better and better. So it's been exciting.
Excellent. So how you guys, because I have this problem with a band that I play with, Days of Five. It's the geography. You brought up that, like with you in Delaware. Like, how are you handling that for rehearsing and getting together and playing?
Well, 3 of us live here locally in Manassas, so that's the easiest part.
Right.
And another one of us is just close by in Arlington, so it's easy for the core rhythm kind of portion.
Sure.
Can get together a little more regularly. But we've found a place called the Thunderdome, which we've been visiting in Maryland, which is kind of halfway, and using that as a jam spot so we can calculate when we can get together with Ben. And make the most out of them, kind of be efficient.
Me being out in Delaware, I just make sure I, put in time solo. That way, when I do get with these guys, everything's ready.
Another thing we've been doing is the technology really that's allowing for. Something that you would never. I'm sure Days of Five. There's no way you guys did not get into a practice space back in the day,
right?
And there's no way you can tell me you didn't put a boombox on the floor and hit record.
Right.
And that was your demo. That was like your recording, so that you had something to reference, to write lyrics to or something.
Right.
We all did it.
Right.
Today, I've got Pro Tools at home.
Right.
You know, so I throw down a scratch guitar track on top of a metronome. I send that to Hendrik. He puts the drums on it in his own studio. And he's got mics everywhere on his drum kit. He sends that back up on a Google Drive, right? So now we're sharing everything in the cloud.
Right.
The technology is really cool.
Yeah.
So he puts that up. And then Jonathan will lay down his guitar, and I'll put down a fresh guitar take. Christopher throws down the bass. Then Ben's got it, and he's in Delaware. All of this has happened, you know, geographically separated from each other.
Sure.
And it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
It sounds tight. Nothing sounds as good as everyone in the same room, of course, but we've got something that we can work from.
Right.
And it sounds professional because we're using like top end gear. So
you guys were speaking to the maturity also. Like, I feel like that's, you know, Days of Five's been around for a very long time also. We were also very immature. So I would say that, like, your dedication probably to rehearsing individually is maybe a little bit different, a little bit more, you know what I mean, than what it was, you know, when you were a little younger, and you could be a little more carefree, you know, in your approach.
A little bit.
I get that also.
and you know, the quality of the gear today is so much higher. I mean, some of the digital, the plugins and everything you can get, they really sound real.
Sure.
A Line 6, you know, like a pod from like the late 90s for guitar sounded kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was a cheesiness that you wanted to do, you go for, but I mean, just the quality of the technology today is just amazing. It sounds really clean and hum and hiss free, and doesn't take up a lot of space, you know.
Sure.
I'm thinking back to the first recordings we did. I mean, recording on tape.
Right.
And then today, like, imagine there's no way to like pull those tapes and remix, and you know what I mean?
Right.
But everything in a Pro Tools session is just so easy, and you can back it up, you know, in the cloud, and you know, never lose it. You know? So it's pretty cool being able to harness all that technology, and Jonathan and I particularly are huge gear snobs when it comes to the gear. So
gear collectors, collectors more than snobs, I would say.
So are you guys doing sound tonight?
Yeah, we're working. We've got Scott's helped us with getting the check going and everything. I think it's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple other people floating behind the board. Kind of, it's we very much, despite this being a super professional venue, we still have that DIY ethic, you know, or ethos. I would say, you know, that is really permeates what we do. And back to, again, sharing with the younger generation, trying to get them exposure to this type of thing. Running a digital mixer is not easy.
Right.
I will tell you, I had to learn it myself. And, all the routing and everything is just insane. But that's really important that we're sharing that with the younger folks, and that they learn how to do it too, so that they can carry that on.
Sure.
The capabilities are immense, and it's on, you know, what used to be like this
Right.
out here. But yeah, it's definitely much harder to operate. So.
I mean, you really have to be somewhat, even if it's a amateur level, a sound engineer. You have to understand routing. You have to understand what gates and EQs are if you're going to use them, because you can very quickly make something sound very, very bad, you know. But they've got built-in reverbs and delays. It's just, there's, like you said, the capabilities are just, and you don't even tap into a fraction of what you know, it's capable of doing.
So you mentioned potentially going in the studio, recording some stuff here soon. What other shows on the calendar, or now that things are getting back together?
We got one next Saturday, right? DC.
Yeah, we've got a few. We're actually doing a few shows out of state. We've got Saturday. We're next Saturday. We're playing in DC, so it's out of state technically.
Yeah, right. All right.
And then we've got a weekend coming up. 2 shows in Virginia and then North Carolina. We've got a show booked back here in June.
Okay.
So that'll be exciting.
Is that a part of that's going to be the first weekend of June, like our regular?
I think it's the 16th, so it's not the first weekend. There was we had a good friend, a band that was friends with us back in the day. Ben and I and Christopher, we all played with them from New York, called Locked in a Vacancy.
Okay,
they're from New York City, and they had a need for, they were doing a show in Philadelphia on the 17th and said, hey, you got anything that could work on that 16th? Mm-hmm. And I was like, let me see. So I, checked with the venue and we made it work.
Sure.
So it's kind of cool too to be able to be helping out touring bands with plugging in the dates. So that's why we ended up moving it to the middle of the month. Uh-huh. And that'll be a really fun one. Those guys are outstanding, old hardcore band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent.
And remind everyone, I know we talked about it the last time you guys were here, but where can they find
those list of
more
shows?
Yeah.
We share a lot of it on social media, so Facebook and Instagram. I have to confess,
not the Glowing Embers, but Age of Ruin.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't trust the Glowing Embers. Those guys are kind of hacks. But I got to confess, when it comes to social media, the TikTok, WhatsApp, all that stuff is just too hard for me to figure out. So Instagram, Facebook, our website, this is theageofruin.com or ageofruin.party.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Always great. Always great, like chatting with you guys and your continued work. Not only, well, I guess, because since you're kind of running the scene, it's kind of, you want to give a shout out to any particular band tonight? Because you brought in a lot of these acts, right? Like you've recognized them. And is there anything that you, I guess, like want to maybe tell whoever would happen to be listening right now in terms of like what to catch, who to catch and when, and maybe some selling points about them?
Sure. Okay. So Human Animal is a band that's from Erie, Pennsylvania. Speaking of old bands we used to play with, one of the members used to play in a band called Brothers Keeper, which we played with back in the day. And Ben's band, before Age of Ruin, he was in a band called Apathy, and they played with them a few times. And so being able to connect with some of these people that we haven't seen in 20 years is really cool. Really good hardcore punk band. Betty Gray is a band that's really been doing a lot of shows. They've been playing up and down the East Coast a lot, and I would say look out for them. They've got they just were up in the studio last week, 2 weeks ago maybe. I did a guest solo on one of their songs actually, so look out for that.
Yeah.
And then we have Mortal Ground, who's also from Virginia, so they're a really good thrash metal band. Cool. They do a lot of shows in DC and haven't played Northern Virginia. I want to say that this might be the first Northern Virginia show if you don't count like Fredericksburg. So, and guys that we've known for a while, so really excited about that. And then the band that's opening is called Kahlo. And
just talk to them.
Cool. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah.
What about upcoming spotlight shows? Anything in the works for those?
Yeah. Like I said, Locked in a Vacancy, that's next month. That'll be on the 16th. We're going to do a July show. Age of Ruin most likely won't be on that, but I think we're hoping to be on that local Palooza, which is being booked. I know the I guess the R&D, whatever you call it, the artist A&D, whatever. Yeah, whoever the folks that are selecting the bands that are playing, they haven't made the announcement yet, but but if we don't make it, there might be a good chance you see the Glowing Embers on that.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by again. Looking forward to catching you guys.
It's
tonight.
not going to be the last time. Our last conversation. This is just the second time around.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
we're going to do it again. Looking forward to it again.
As are we.
will too.
Yeah.
right.
Cool.
And we're going to take thanks again. And we're going to take a quick break on the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show.